Let's talk about mindset, not as a buzzword, not as something soft or abstract, but as a real, tangible force, one that quietly governs everything you do. Because the truth is this: your mindset shapes your reality. It's the lens through which you see the world, the filter that determines how you interpret events, and the driver behind how you respond to every situation life throws at you. And yet, so many people walk through life never realizing that they can change that lens. They never question whether the frame they're looking through is helping them or holding them back. We're not just talking about optimism versus pessimism here. This goes deeper. We're talking about the core of how you view yourself and the world. Whether you believe that you are capable of growth or believe that you're stuck where you are. Whether you see struggle as something to avoid or something to learn from. That subtle difference between fixed and growth is everything. Psychologist Carol Dweck talked about this in her work, but the concept is as old as philosophy itself. The Stoics spoke about it. Nietzsche spoke about it. Even in faith traditions, the idea comes up, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Think about it. Two people can go through the same hardship, lose a job, get rejected, fail at something they cared deeply about, and come out completely different. One spirals, the other gets stronger. It's not the event that made the difference. It's the mindset they brought into it. But let's bring this down to real life. Imagine someone hears, "You're not good at this." A fixed mindset hears that and says, "I'm not good at this, period." They internalize it. It becomes identity. But a growth mindset hears the same thing and responds, "Maybe not yet, but I can be." That word, yet, is powerful. It holds the door open for progress. It introduces possibility. That's mindset. Now, we're not saying that mindset alone is magic. You still have to put in the work. You still have to grind. But if you're working hard with the wrong mindset, it's like running full speed in the wrong direction. You get tired, frustrated, burned out. And you never understand why. That's because the mindset was off from the start. People often underestimate the subconscious power of their thoughts. You walk into a room already convinced that you're not enough. Guess what? Your body follows. Your voice shrinks. Your energy dims. And that reality starts to mirror what you believed in the first place. It's a feedback loop, a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you're not careful, your own mind becomes your biggest limitation. Not your upbringing, not your circumstances, but you. Now here's the good news. If your mindset created the limits, then your mindset can remove them. It's not fixed. It's not genetable, it's adaptable. Neuroscience backs this up. Neuroplasticity tells us the brain can change. Habits can be rewired. Beliefs can be reshaped. But you've got to become intentional about it. You've got to start listening to your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself when things go wrong? When you're challenged, someone questions you. Is it full of self-doubt? Is it passive? Is it defeatist? Or do you speak like someone who knows they're in process? Who knows they're learning and leveling up every day? Mindset isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing to engage with reality in a way that empowers you instead of paralyzing you. It's about acknowledging that life will test you. Sometimes brutally. But believing that how you respond to those tests is what defines your path. It's knowing that just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. That just because something hurt you doesn't mean it has to break you. This kind of thinking isn't always natural, especially in a world that profits off your doubt. A world that constantly compares you to someone else's highlight reel. That kind of world wants you distracted, discouraged, and dependent. But mindset, true grounded inner clarity, frees you from that. It brings you back to yourself. It reminds you that you don't have to be perfect to make progress. You just have to be present, awake, and willing to keep going. And that's not some motivational fluff. That's mental discipline. It's emotional intelligence. It's the practice of not just reacting, but choosing how to respond. Of stepping back, taking ownership, and saying, "This isn't the end. This is the beginning of a better version of me." You see, when you start operating from a mindset of growth, everything shifts. Feedback becomes fuel, pressure becomes purpose, even pain becomes a teacher. And once you realize that, you stop fearing the storm. You start learning how to dance in the rain. You start building a foundation that doesn't depend on everything going right. Because your power comes from the inside. And when that happens, you become dangerous. In the best way. Unstoppable, not because you don't fall, but because you rise again and again with greater clarity and greater fire each time. That's the kind of mindset that changes lives. that moves nations, that shapes history. So the next time you face something hard, really hard, ask yourself, what mindset am I bringing into this? Because the moment you choose a different perspective, the moment you shift that inner narrative, you've already taken the most important step. Remember, you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. And that changes everything. Let's get something straight. Life is not easy. It will test you. It will knock you down. It will hand you situations that make no sense, break your rhythm, and force you to choose, again and again, how you're going to respond. And in those moments, you've got two options. You either see the challenge as a curse or as a call. You either shrink from it or you rise through it. That choice, that internal decision, is what separates growth from stagnation. Because here's the truth most people miss. Challenges are not roadblocks, they're redirections. They're not punishments, they're invitations. You've got to learn how to see problems differently. Most people spend so much energy trying to avoid discomfort, avoid failure, avoid being stretched. But pressure is where potential reveals itself. Struggle is where strength is born. You don't build muscle in comfort. You build it under resistance. And the same thing applies to your mind, your character, your purpose. Psychologically, we are wired to seek certainty. We want control. We want safety. That's natural. The brain is always scanning for threats, always calculating how to keep us in familiar territory. But growth doesn't live in the familiar. Growth lives in the unknown, in the uncomfortable, in the places where you're not sure if you'll make it. And then you do. That's where confidence comes from. Not from hype or ego, but from surviving the fire and realizing, I'm still here. See, challenges don't just reveal who you are. They refine who you are. Every setback you face is also a mirror. It reflects back something about your mindset, your preparation, your internal narrative. And if you're honest enough, if you're courageous enough to look at that reflection without flinching, you can use it. You can grow from it. But if you hide from it, if you blame, complain, or pretend, it owns you. That's the choice. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Viktor Frankl understood this on a deep level. They knew that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we interpret it. Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That's mindset. That's the power of reframing a challenge. Not as something that's happening to you, but something that could be happening for you. Let me be clear. I'm not saying every painful thing is good. Some things in life will hurt like hell. Some losses, some betrayals, some failures, those cut deep. But pain is not the end of the story unless you let it be. Pain can also be the beginning of clarity, the beginning of wisdom, the beginning of a new path that you have never considered if life hadn't shaken you up. And if you look back on your life, I guarantee you'll find moments like that. Moments that didn't make sense at the time, that maybe felt like the end, but ended up being turning points. Not despite the struggle, but because of it. The question is, do you trust the process? Do you trust that struggle has something to teach you? That it's trying to reveal something in you, not just remove something from you? That it might be preparing you for something you can't even see yet? This shift in mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities in disguise, doesn't make the challenge easier. It makes you stronger. It turns you from a victim into a student. From someone waiting to be rescued into someone willing to rise. That shift is everything. Because when your identity becomes resilient, when you believe that no matter what comes, you'll adapt, learn, grow, then the world can't break you. It can bend you, it can stretch you, but it can't stop you. People who thrive in the long run aren't the ones with the smoothest paths. They're the ones who learn how to make meaning out of the mess. They mine their pain for wisdom. They take the L's and turn them into lessons. They walk through the valley, but they walk out with something. With insight. With grit. With a deeper sense of purpose. So when you're faced with a setback, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it. Ask what it's trying to show you. Ask what part of you it's trying to strengthen. Because behind every challenge is a question: will you grow, or will you retreat? Will you take this and evolve, or will you let it define you? And let's be real. It's not easy. There will be moments when your faith shakes. When doubt creeps in. When quitting feels easier than continuing. But those moments are exactly when you must lean into your power. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one more step forward. One more breath. That's how transformation works. Incrementally, quietly, and then all at once. I'll leave you with this: adversity is not the enemy of progress. Avoiding adversity is. Because the more you avoid being tested, the less equipped you are when life inevitably tests you. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That's the question that shifts everything. That's the mindset that turns pain into power. So the next time life pushes you, push back. With purpose. Let's talk about belief. Not just belief in some vague idea of success or some far-off dream, but belief in yourself. The kind that holds steady when the spotlight fades. The kind that doesn't need applause to feel valid. The kind of belief that says, even when I don't have all the answers, I trust that I'm equipped to find them. Because here's what most people never fully understand: self-belief is a force multiplier. It amplifies everything you touch. Without it, your gifts go unused, your voice goes unheard, your vision stays small. But when you believe in your ability to grow, to overcome, to adapt, then your mindset shifts, your energy shifts, and your outcomes follow. Now let me be clear, self-belief is not arrogance. Arrogance is loud, shallow, and insecure. Real belief is quiet, it's rooted, it doesn't need to convince anyone, it simply knows. And it grows not from hype or validation, but from experience. Earned experience. You believe in yourself because you've seen yourself show up in hard times. You've seen yourself get knocked down, and still choose to get back up. That's where the real confidence comes from. It's built, not bought. The problem is, we're conditioned to think that belief comes after success. Like we need proof before we give ourselves permission to feel capable. But it doesn't work that way. That mindset keeps people stuck. Because if you wait for external evidence before you believe internally, you'll always be a step behind your own potential. You've got to believe first. You've got to carry faith before you carry results. You've got to plant the seed before you see the fruit. Psychologically, this is huge. What you believe about yourself influences your choices. What risks you take, what goals you pursue, what setbacks you're willing to endure. Your belief system becomes a filter. If deep down, you believe you're not smart enough, talented enough, worthy enough, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities that challenge that belief. You'll avoid the spotlight, downplay your abilities, talk yourself out of trying. But if you believe you can learn, you can grow, you can make something meaningful out of your life, then that belief gives you the courage to try. And in that trying, you evolve. That's the paradox: belief makes the action possible, and the action then reinforces the belief. Now, from a philosophical standpoint, this isn't just about motivation, it's about identity. Who do you think you are? That's the question at the core of everything. If your identity is built on weakness, on fear, on what other people have said about you, then every challenge feels like a threat. But if your identity is rooted in strength, in resilience, in purpose, then those same challenges become invitations. Opportunities to show yourself who you really are. You see, belief is not just about self-esteem. It's about alignment. When your belief lines up with your actions, you walk differently. You speak with clarity. You don't chase validation because you're already grounded in conviction. That's powerful. That's what makes people magnetic. Not the resume, not the money, not the image, but the internal truth they carry. But let's get real for a second. Most people are carrying beliefs they didn't even choose. Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, a past failure, a comparison trap they fell into. Somewhere along the way, they picked up idea that they were too much or not enough, and they started living from that place. Dimming their light, lowering their standards, accepting less than they deserve. That's why mindset work isn't just about success. It's about liberation. It's about reclaiming your narrative, rewriting the internal script and saying, I refuse to be defined by old programming. If that sounds heavy, it's because it is. But it's also doable. You're not stuck with the beliefs you were handed. You can examine them, challenge them, and replace them. You can shift from doubt to confidence, not overnight, but deliberately, through small wins, through consistent self-talk, through choosing progress over perfection, through keeping promises to yourself when nobody's watching. And the most important part, believing in yourself doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you don't let fear have the final word. Fear is part of the process. Doubt will whisper. Imposter syndrome will knock. But your belief, your deep, anchored sense of worth and possibility, can speak louder. It can override the noise, but only if you practice listening to it. Only if you feed it. And make no mistake, belief needs to be fed. Through discipline, through preparation, through truth, because you can't fake belief forever. You've got to earn your own trust. That's where integrity comes in. Are you showing up for yourself? Are you doing what you said you'd do? Are you moving like someone who respects their own potential? If not, start there. Don't chase results. Chase alignment. Results will follow. I've seen it again and again. Ordinary people who decided to believe in themselves before the world gave them permission. People who came from nothing, had every reason to quit, every reason to settle, but they didn't. They believed they were capable of more, and they backed that belief with action. Not luck. Not shortcuts. Discipline. And that's what separated them. So if you're sitting here right now doubting yourself, let me challenge you with this. What would your life look like if you believed, without apology, that you were built for something greater? Not perfect, not better than anyone else, but prepared, capable, ready. What doors would you knock on? What goals would you chase? What version of you would finally come alive? Because here's the deal, until you believe in you, no strategy will stick. No plan will matter. You'll always be second-guessing, hesitating, playing small. But the moment you decide, truly decide, that your voice, your vision, your value matter, that's the moment you stop waiting for permission and start walking in purpose. So don't wait. Start backing yourself now, even if it's messy, even if it's quiet, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you, because belief, real belief, will take you further than talent ever will. Let's take it all the way home now. Because none of this, none of what we've talked about, mindset, challenge, belief, means anything without action. Consistent, deliberate, and disciplined action. That's where the transformation actually happens. That's where potential becomes power. That's where the mindset you've built, and the belief you carry show up in the real world, and start to reshape your life. You can have the strongest mindset, the most powerful intentions, but if you don't move, if you don't apply it, it stays a theory. Mindset without movement is just a motivational slogan. Belief without execution is just daydreaming. It's the action that completes the circuit. It's the action that makes it real. Now I'm not talking about hustling for the sake of hustling. I'm not talking about burning yourself out trying to prove something. I'm talking about purposeful action. Intentional steps. Small disciplines, repeated daily, that align with who you say you want to become. That's the key alignment. Because when your actions match your values, you don't need outside motivation. You generate your own momentum. But here's where most people fall short. They wait. They wait for the right time. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until all the lights are green. And I'm here to tell you, if you're waiting for perfect conditions, you'll be stuck in the same place 5 years from now. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. And what you do with now decides everything. You see, we romanticize breakthrough moments. The big win, the spotlight, the end result. But real growth is built in the mundane. It's built in the dark, in the early mornings when nobody's clapping, in the late nights when doubt is loud, in the quiet, unglamorous decisions to keep going. That's where character is forged. That's where self-respect is earned. And that's what most people overlook. They want the results without the repetitions. Psychologically, this is what creates real change. Habit loops, neural pathways. Repetition. The brain wires itself based on what you consistently do. Not what you think about, not what you hope for, but what you practice. If you want to rewire your identity, rewire your habits. If you want to build resilience, train it. If you want confidence, earn it through consistency. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming, and philosophically, this connects to something deeper: responsibility. Taking action is about ownership. It's about refusing to outsource your future to luck, or someone else's approval, or circumstance. It's saying, whatever is in my control, I will work that. I will not wait to be rescued. That's maturity, that's discipline, that's power. You don't have to control everything, but you do have to control yourself. And self-control is built through action. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you train like a muscle. It's built by doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. That's the difference between people who talk about growth and people who live it. Now, I know that consistency doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. It can feel repetitive. It can feel thankless. But what you have to understand is that results don't show up the same day you plant the seed. They come after seasons of watering, of patience, of trust. You don't get to skip the process. But you do get to build something that lasts. And make no mistake, there will be resistance. Internal resistance in the form of procrastination, fear, excuses, external resistance in the form of setbacks, unexpected problems. But if your mindset is right, if your belief is strong, and your purpose is clear, resistance becomes part of the training, part of the weight that shapes the strength. This is why it's so important to stay connected to your why. Because when the work gets hard, and it will, you need something deeper than motivation to carry you. Motivation fades, emotion wavers, but if you're anchored in purpose, you can outlast both. Purpose is the compass. Action is the path, and that path won't look perfect. Some days you'll crush it. Some days you'll stumble. That's normal, that's human. But consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up, again and again, in pursuit of who you said you'd become. And every time you do that, you make deposits in your self-trust account. You build integrity with yourself. And over time, that integrity becomes confidence. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you earned it. So if there's something you've been putting off, some goal, some dream, some change, don't wait for the fear to disappear. It won't. Move anyway. Start small if you need to. One choice, one step, one habit. Build from there. Progress is always louder than perfection. And if you fall off, get back up. The people who make it aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who keep recommitting. Again and again. That's what consistency really is. A series of recommitments to the future you want to build. Let me leave you with this. The gap between you are and where you want to be isn't filled with luck. It's filled with action. That's it. The bridge is already there. Every step you take across it matters. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the fear to leave. Stop waiting for permission. Start moving. Because the life you want won't be handed to you. It will be built by you, one choice at a time. So here we are. We've talked about mindset, not just as a buzzword, but as the foundation of everything. We've unpacked the truth that challenges are not meant to break you, but to build you. We've broken down the power of belief, not the kind that waits for evidence, but the kind that creates it. And we've made it clear that none of it matters without action. Consistent, disciplined, purposeful action. This isn't just a speech, this is a call. A call to stop living on autopilot. To stop waiting for conditions to be perfect, or for someone else to validate your worth. You don't need permission to become who you're meant to be. You just need the courage to begin, the resilience to endure, and the discipline to keep going. The world will try to define you by your past, your failures, your limitations. But you've got something greater. The power to choose a new direction, a new identity, a new standard. That power lies in your mindset. And once you understand that, really understand it, there's no going back. So the question isn't whether you're capable. You are. The question is whether you're willing to think differently, to believe deeply, and to act consistently, even when it's hard. Because your mindset is your greatest power. And once you own that, really own it, nothing can stop you but you. Now go prove yourself right.